Chapter 1282. Gu Mingming's hair stood on end from the beast deity's stare. His gaze was clearly saying, "If you dare to plead, I will break your legs." She shook her head stiffly and said, "It's only right for a father-in-law to teach his son-in-law a lesson. It's only right." The beast deity then nodded in satisfaction and said, "Of course, if I don't put him in his place the first time we meet, does he think that my precious daughter is someone he can marry so easily? Doesn't he know whose precious daughter she is?" The beast deity glanced at Elvis and said, "Aren't you going to run faster?" At such a distance, Elvis could clearly see what the beast deity said to Gu Mingming and what expressions he used. Receiving Gu Mingming's helpless and heartache expression, Elvis smiled and shook his head, indicating to her that he was all right and that he could handle it. After all, if Elvis had a daughter, he would definitely not be as merciful as the beast deity when he made things difficult for his daughter's first partner. The beast deity also ignored Elvis and Gu Mingming's flirtatious glances. He just held Gu Mingming's little hand and said, "Raising a daughter is like raising a pot of flowers. You water and fertilize her, but one day, a bastard called son-in-law takes away even the flower pot." Gu Mingming grinned awkwardly and said, "Father, have you been addicted to TikTok recently?" The beast deity had originally wanted to cry but was exposed by Gu Mingming. He awkwardly cleared his throat and forcefully held back the tears that had welled up in his eyes. He glared at Gu Mingming and said, "That's how it is. If you want to marry someone else's daughter, you have to at least do two things." Gu Mingming felt that the beast deity was possessed by a drama queen today. She and Elvis had been partners for almost 2 to 3 years and he was only putting this son-in-law in his place now. Wasn't his reaction time a little too long? But thinking that the beast deity was doing everything for her, Gu Mingming felt very warm. Although Elvis would not bully her at all, there was someone who could be your backing, your path of retreat, holding your hand and handing it over to another man, telling him, "If one day you don't love her anymore, don't lie to her, don't bully her, just give me a call, I'll come and fetch her home." That feeling was really good. It was so good that Gu Mingming thought she would never be able to dream of it in her entire life. Suddenly, the untouchable cord of kinship in her heart was violently plucked at this moment. Gu Mingming smiled and played along with the beast deity's harmless act, asking, What are those two things?" The beast deity glanced at Elvis from the corner of his eyes. "First, surpass your father. Second, please your mother. I am a father and a mother at the same time, so he wants to surpass me and please me at the same time. If he can't do those two things, do and want me to acknowledge him as my son-in-law. King me." Gu Mingming smiled and nodded. "Beast sling line. T." Elvis returned her a determined gaze before transforming into a wolf and sprinting towards Gu Mingming with all his might. Gu Mingming felt that Elvis was really quite pitiful, so she wrapped her arms around the beast deity's shoulders and said, "But father, what if my mother-in-law also makes things difficult for me in the future?" The beast deity laughed coldly. "If they think they can afford to offend me, they can try bullying you." Gu Mingming's heart warmed. She hugged the beast deity and rubbed her furry little head against his shoulder. "Father is mighty and dominating. Unify the martial world." The beast deity held Gu Mingming's hand. "Daughter, look. This is the martial world father has conquered for you. It will all be yours in the future." Ah. Chapter 1283. Father, that. The moment Gu Mingming opened her mouth, the beast deity gestured for her to stop. "Old rules, you can only ask questions after watching the television series." Gu Mingming nodded. "Yeah, let's begin." But the beast deity shook his head. He glanced at Elvis. "I haven't accepted him yet. Why should I let him watch television with us?" Gu Mingming held her forehead. "Papa, my hubby has been running there for half a day," the beast deity snorted. "So what? How much did you suffer to give birth to his wolf cubs? What about him? What did he do? Why should he enjoy the pleasurable process while you bear the painful consequences?" Gu Mingming blushed. She shook the beast deity's shoulders. "Father, maintain your persona. You are a deity. Is it really okay to be so dirty?" The beast deity was so shaken that he was seeing stars, but he did not back down. With a snap of his fingers, Elvis was instantly pulled to their side. This level of running was nothing to Elvis. Although he was sweating a little, his expression was still stable. He didn't look like he was out of breath. This made the beast deity very unhappy. He felt like he hadn't vented his anger. So she hugged Gu Mingming's shoulder with one hand and slapped away Elvis's wolf claws that wanted to grab Gu Mingming's little hand with the other. She said, "Do you know how painful it was when my daughter gave birth to your child?" Elvis nodded. His expression was solemn. Elvis had personally delivered Huda and the other little ones. Gu Mingming's tragic cries were still Elvis's nightmares. In Elvis's memory, Gu Mingming had made him feel so much pain that he wanted to die twice. The last time she was extremely quiet was when Snake carried her back to the Snake King Valley. At that time she was like a broken doll without a soul. Her blood dripped all over the ground, but she could not even make a sound, as if she was dead. The other time was when she was giving birth. Her cries pierced through the clouds and shattered his heart. It was as if thousands of ants were gnawing on his bones. It was so painful that he became numb. Those 2 times were nightmares that Elvis could never forget. Seeing Elvis nod, the beast deity laughed coldly. No? What do you know? You've never given birth, how would you know? Elvis was speechless and could only lower his head to admit his mistake, with a "I am guilty" look. The beast deity chuckled, looking as if he was up to no good. Gu Mingming nudged the beast deity lightly. Father, you are a positive character. Don't smile so slyly. I will suspect that you are the villain behind the scenes. The beast deity raised his head and said, My precious daughter is my life. I will fight to the death with anyone who makes you suffer. For you, I don't care whether it's the righteous or the antagonist or the sweet potato sect. This drama queen father was really unparalleled when he was stubborn. Gu Mingming felt that, maybe she should not bring Elvis back in the future. Alright then father, tell me, what do you have to do for Elvis to be acknowledged? Gu Mingming smiled adorably, as if she was a good student begging her teacher for the final question. The beast deity glanced at Elvis and said, Why is it that you are the one enjoying childbirth and my daughter is the one suffering? You should at least suffer the same pain and suffer the same pain to appease my anger. Chapter 1284. It's the best that you can think that way. I wanted to magnify my daughter's pain by 10 times for you to endure, but on account of your proper attitude, let's just magnify it by 8 times. Don't. Gu Mingming hugged the beast deity, her face filled with horror. Father, the bone cracks will open during childbirth. That kind of pain is really terrifying. If you magnify it by 8 times he will die. The beast deity was displeased. He twitched his lips. 7.5 times. Gu Mingming shook her head with a pleading expression. Father, just the original degree will do. Please, you don't want me to be a widow, right? The beast deity smiled gently as he rubbed Gu Mingming's little head. It's all right. You still have Leah even if he dies from the pain. In the future when Leah comes he will have to suffer again. If Leah also dies from the pain I will find a better one for you. Father, you are my biological father? Gu Mingming wanted to cry. The beast deity acted as if he didn't understand what Gu Mingming was implying. He nodded seriously. Yeah, of course I am your biological father. Why would a stepfather treat you so well? Am I right? Gu Mingming held onto the beast deity's shoulders. Father, you must have the right values. People say that it is better to demolish 10 temples than to ruin a marriage. Killing your son-in-law to find a new lover for your daughter is a degenerate act of morality and a twisted human nature. The beast deity held his heart with a heartbroken expression. His finger trembled as he pointed at Gu Mingming, as if Gu Mingming was extremely unfilial and had chased her elderly parents out of the house. All right. I have protected you with all my heart. You actually contradicted me for a little wolf cub. Oh, my heart hurts so much. Gu Mingming had a "excuse me?" look on her face. Father, the Oscars owe you an identity number and a 10,086 golden statuette. Elvis's brain capacity couldn't handle the complicated situation before him. The beast deity had such a high status in the beast world that even looking up to him was a luxury. But he didn't expect the beast deity to be, so lively? And he didn't understand most of the conversation between Gu Mingming and the beast deity. But looking at the current situation, it seemed like Gu Mingming had a conflict with the beast deity because she could not bear for him to suffer. Elvis did not want Gu Mingming to be put in a difficult position between him and the beast deity, so he tugged at her and said, Xiaoming, I am a male. A male's endurance is much stronger than a female's. Furthermore, I am a beast king. Don't worry. I'm not afraid of pain. Elvis, believe me, the pain of giving birth is different from the pain you feel when you're fighting. Gu Mingming advised Elvis not to be stubborn, he should show his weakness at this moment. But Elvis smiled and rubbed Gu Mingming's little head, saying, If you are in pain, I should be in pain 100%. This is the punishment I deserve. Now, Lord Beast God is only punishing me 7.5 times, this is already very merciful. Moreover, I can only break free from this nightmare after I've endured the punishment. Only then can I truly face your next labor. Be good and don't interfere. Let me feel pain for you once, okay? The beast deity hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders and chuckled at Elvis, saying, Since you've already said so, what are we waiting for? With that, the beast deity twisted his finger and a transparent square-shaped isolation barrier appeared beside Elvis. But with his strength he could not break free. The beast deity hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders and looked at Elvis in disdain. You can't take it anymore? Let me tell you, this is just the beginning of the pain. How long did my precious daughter suffer when she gave birth to your son? You haven't forgotten, have you? How could he forget? That day, from labor pains to delivery, Gu Mingming spent the entire night tossing and turning. The beast deity continued. The degree of labor pains will gradually increase. You just bear with it. Elvis's eyes were red as he nodded seriously. He looked at Gu Mingming with such heartache that it could drip blood. It was as if he was not the one in pain, but Gu Mingming who was standing outside the barrier and not knowing what to do. Chapter 1286. The beast deity was unmoved and only said, "Have you ever seen someone giving birth halfway?" Gu Mingming was rendered speechless. She had no choice, the beast deity was the absolute ruler in this illusion realm. Even if she and Elvis had the power of a beast king, they could not exert any strength. So, no matter if she wanted to help from the outside or if Elvis wanted to break free from the inside, as long as the beast deity did not nod his head, it would all be useless. So, Gu Mingming just stood outside the barrier in a daze and at a loss, looking at Elvis who was in so much pain but still smiled and told her, "It's okay, don't be afraid, he can hold on." Finally, after enduring the long labor pain, they entered the labor process. Elvis, that strong and unyielding man, was in so much pain that his legs turned to jelly and he directly knelt on the ground, panting heavily like a fish that had been beached. Even air was a luxury to him. Gu Mingming clenched her fists tightly and bit her lower lip, unable to shift her gaze away from Elvis's face. She just said softly, "Father, I understand what you mean." "Mm?" the beast deity asked softly. Gu Mingming smiled bitterly and said, "Not only do you want Elvis to experience the pain I went through during childbirth, you also want me to understand how tormented and helpless he and Leah felt when they saw me in so much pain during childbirth." Turning her head, Gu Mingming looked at the beast deity with 2 streaks of tears and a faint smile. She said, "Father, thank you for your good intentions. I understand." The beast deity then heaved a sigh of relief and nodded with a smile. Following Elvis's deafening roar, this childbirth experience course finally came to an end. The beast deity waved his hand and the transparent barrier was removed. Gu Mingming went forward to support the exhausted Elvis. She hugged his head and kissed it over and over again. She asked, "Does it still hurt?" Elvis locked Gu Mingming tightly in his arms and choked with sobs. "It's me, who made you suffer. I'm sorry. Xiaoming, I'm sorry." The beast deity nodded in satisfaction, but he did not mercifully allow them to continue hugging each other. She grabbed Gu Mingming's collar and snatched her out of Elvis's arms. Then she gave Elvis a tight slap, sending him flying far away. "Hugging my daughter in front of me, do you want to die?" Gu Mingming's face was filled with rage. Elvis felt wronged. Why couldn't he hug his own wife? Dragging his weak and exhausted body, he staggered towards Gu Mingming. This time he did not walk on the spot, he could clearly feel himself approaching her step by step. Gu Mingming wanted to step forward to welcome him, but the beast deity wrapped his arms around her shoulders and refused to let go. He shook his head and said, "My daughter is not someone who can be married so easily." Chapter 1287. Only then did the beast deity chuckle. He stopped acting like a drama queen and said with the indifferent elegance that a deity should have, "In my eyes, you are not worthy of my daughter. But, because Gu Ming likes you, I reluctantly accept you. If you let me know that my precious daughter has suffered any grievances because of you, I will let you experience the true fury of the beast deity." "Yes." Elvis lowered his head respectfully, not only to the supreme deity, but also because he was Gu Mingming's father. The beast deity released his grip and held Gu Mingming's other hand, saying, "Come, my precious daughter, accompany daddy to watch television." With that, the beast deity pulled Gu Mingming to sit on the long bench for 2 people, while Elvis had no place to sit and could only sit on the ground beside Gu Mingming. His eyes were filled with deep love and he could not see anything other than Gu Mingming. The beast deity had no time to care about Elvis's thoughts. With a wave of his hand, a screen-like object appeared in front of the 3 of them. The setting was the amusement park at the end of the previous television series. The first attraction was called Waves Blossoming. A 2-person seashell flew up and down, as if it was floating on the surface of the sea. When the attraction was activated, colorful bubbles would spurt out from the side, complementing the romantic music to create a relaxing and sweet atmosphere. As Snake and Gu Mingming had called out too hastily, none of them brought their family members. Only Snake and Gu Mingming were a couple and sat together. The rest were either 2 men or 2 women. But, in the past, Gu Mingming was the one sitting with Bai Lan. Now that Gu Mingming was accompanying Snake, Bai Lan was alone. She sat on the seashell alone and had just fastened her seatbelt when she heard her roommate shout to the staff in the studio, "Beautiful sister, there's no need to play music later. We have our own BGM." The staff readily agreed. After all, they had booked the entire place and were the boss. They could do whatever they wanted. Before Gu Mingming could react, Bai Lan's face darkened and she roared, "Ning Qizhu, do you have to be so ruthless? Gu Mingming, shut your mouth. You are not allowed to sing, do you hear me?" Gu Mingming, who was still in a daze, instantly understood what their background music was when she heard Bai Lan's shout. She burst out laughing. Snake roughly knew what background music they were talking about, but he did not say it out loud. He just looked at Gu Mingming's radiant smile and felt extremely happy. The small shell started to move and colorful bubbles were blown out from the 4 corners. When the wind blew, the bubbles scattered, making the whole scene look beautiful. 1, 2, 3. After Ning Qizhu counted to 3, all the girls started singing in unison, "We're different. You're the only one in the dormitory who doesn't have a girlfriend." The chorus, accompanied by the rising and falling laughter, brightened Gu Mingming's face and warmed Snake's eyes. After coming down from the waves, Bai Lan pointed at Gu Mingming with a pained expression. "You little girl, even you betrayed me." Gu Mingming hid in Snake's arms and laughed hysterically. Only the heavens knew that she was the one being sung along with Bai Lan for the past half a year. So it was quite interesting to bully others like this. Chapter 1288. Zhang Jinqing shook his head and instinctively glanced at Gu Mingming. Originally, he could have had a girlfriend. But he was intercepted. King have it now. With that, Bai Lan locked her arms around Zhang Jinqing's neck and kissed him. That ferocity, it was as if she wanted to eat Zhang Jinqing like he was a smoked pork rib. Both boys and girls were heckling. Snake did not join in, but his lips unknowingly curled upwards. Although this Bai Lan's words were not pleasant to hear, it was undeniable that she would always help him get rid of those eyesores. Although Zhang Jinqing did not receive Gu Mingming's love letter and the 2 of them did not even manage to complete a full confession that day, Snake was still very unhappy that Zhang Jinqing was very handsome in Gu Mingming's eyes and was her type. However, if he had a girlfriend and it was Gu Mingming's best friend, Bai Lan, then there would be no chance for the 2 of them. Yes, lovers should get married in the end. The 192 tall Zhang Jinqing was held by the neck by the 175 tall Bai Lan in the amusement park for the entire afternoon. When they came out of the amusement park, Zhang Jinqing broke free from Bai Lan's grip and said, "Bai Lan, there's something I have to make clear to you. Your confession doesn't count. We can't be considered a couple right now." Bai Lan was also very straightforward. She had never liked Zhang Jinqing in the first place, but she had been so infuriated by Gu Mingming and the other 2 that she had fooled around. So she simply nodded and said, "Sure." With that, Bai Lan let go. She chuckled and turned to look for Gu Mingming and the rest to play. But the moment she turned, someone grabbed her wrist again. Bai Lan turned around and looked at Zhang Jinqing with a puzzled expression, asking with her eyes, "What are you doing?" Zhang Jinqing gulped and said, "Bai Lan, I like you, be my girlfriend." Bai Lan looked at Zhang Jinqing in disbelief, not understanding what he meant. "Didn't you just say?" Zhang Jinqing scratched the back of his head and said, "Things like confessions should be left to the guys. Since I like you, I can't let you feel wronged. Whatever other girls have, I'll definitely let you have it too. Even if I can't give you the whole world, I can at least give you my whole world." Bai Lan blinked her eyes and said, "So you mean, at least I have to give you a formal confession?" Zhang Jinqing smiled and said, "We've already kissed, you can't not take responsibility." Bai Lan snickered and hooked her arm around Zhang Jinqing's neck. "All right, Lil Miss will take care of it." Since Zhang Jinqing and Bai Lan were officially dating today, everyone decided to follow the basketball club's rules and go to KTV for another night. When did this rule start? Yeah, it started when Gu Mingming and Snake were dating. That night, Snake occupied the seat on Gu Mingming's left, while Bai Lan sat on Gu Mingming's right. Zhang Jinqing sat on Bai Lan's right, while Bai Lan gave Gu Mingming a look. "Now do you understand why I don't like him?" Bai Lan glanced at Snake's face, then used the excuse of being tipsy to tell Gu Mingming, "Men, you can't choose someone who is too domineering, you have to choose someone you can control. You see, there are 3 typical cases. Gu Mingming chuckled and raised her eyebrows asking, which three? Chapter 1289. First Pan Jinlian. Bai Lan said as she counted on her fingers. Gu Mingming choked on her drink and almost spat it onto Bai Lan's face. She asked in disbelief, who did you say? Pan Jinlian. Bai Lan seemed a little tipsy as she looked at Gu Mingming blankly. She reiterated, yes Pan Jinlian. Big sister, I studied in primary school after all, don't lie to me. Gu Mingming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Even if she was busy working and did not study much, it was impossible for her not to recognize Pan Jinlian. She was not a good teaching material. Bai Lan waved a finger in front of Gu Mingming, making a no gesture. She said, listen to me. Pan Jinlian, tell us what? Burp. I remember now. Pan Jinlian told us that men, if you like them, keep them. If you don't like them, poison them to death and replace them. Simple and straightforward. Right, but look at your great Buddha. Does he look like someone who can force poison down his throat? No. Not at all. Gu Mingming was speechless. She subconsciously glanced at Snake, only to see him playing with her hair with a forced smile. He whispered into her ear in a voice that only the two of them could hear, I will definitely drink the poison you gave me in one gulp. But poison is useless against me. Gu Mingming treated it as a joke. She elbowed him and shook her head with a smile. She turned to Bai Lan, only to see Bai Lan counting with her second finger. Who is the second case? It's Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian? What did Wu Zetian have to do with love? Wasn't she most famous for becoming the emperor? Bai Lan poked Gu Mingming's head with a look at you don't know anything expression. She continued, Wu Zetian told us that men should be kept if they are obedient. If they don't understand, then kill them. If you can fight, try not to make a ruckus. Gu Mingming, was that so? I did not study much, don't lie to me. Bai Lan raised her third finger and laughed. Case number 3 Xuanzang. Gu Mingming's eyes almost popped out as she shook Bai Lan's shoulders. Sister, wake up. Xuanzang is a man and a monk at that. He has nothing to do with love. Bai Lan shook her head and said, you're such an inexperienced little girl, why are you so naive? Why are you so naive? Gu Mingming looked at Bai Lan in confusion, but Bai Lan continued, tell me, why did so many fairies fight to marry Tripitaka and journey to the west? Why? Gu Mingming thought for a while and said, Tripitaka is handsome? Bai Lan shook her head. Because Xuanzang is delicious and nutritious. So, after we get married we can live. If we can't, we can still eat. Gu Mingming felt that there was nothing wrong with this logic. He slapped his thigh and laughed heartily. Bai Lan suddenly stopped laughing. She snatched Gu Mingming from Snakel's arms and hugged her. Then she wailed, but why did you have to choose such a powerful man? If he bullies you one day he can bully you to death. And there might not be anyone in the entire city who would dare to collect our corpses. So, Bai Lan was still worried about her. Even though she had never been in a relationship before, Gu Mingming still had the heart of a young girl. She had imagined countless marriage proposals, but never did she expect that one day, when she pushed open the door of the bathroom, she would see a man with green eyes saying the word marriage to her who was wearing cartoon pajamas. Chapter 1291. The next day was Monday and school was in session as usual. Snake kept his formal attire and put on the same matching outfit as Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming felt a little shy. After all, they were still in school. Wouldn't it be too high profile for them to dress like this? But Snake said, silly girl, I can't wait for the whole world to know that we are a couple, so that those people won't know what's good for them and have designs on you. Gu Mingming smiled and said, you are the most popular person in the school. There will definitely be more people who have designs on you than on me. Snake kissed Gu Mingming's little mouth and said, I will keep my chastity for you. Gu Mingming blushed and felt dizzy. Combined with his self-talk and self-denial of his proposal last night, this sentence sounded even more meaningful to Gu Mingming. After reaching school, Gu Mingming saw the results list on the bulletin board and remembered that today was the day the mock test results were announced. So she squeezed her way over anxiously. There was no doubt that Snake was first in the year. But wait a minute? Shouldn't Snake be in his second year? Why was he in the first year's list? Gu Mingming turned to look at Snake with a face full of confusion. Snake chuckled and said, I entered school a year earlier to be your Prince Charming Senior. But now, since I am your boyfriend, I should be by your side all the time. So I stayed back a year to accompany you. Snake placed his large hand on Gu Mingming's shoulder and leaned against her lazily. He tilted his head and smiled at her, asking, "Are you touched? Kiss me if you're touched." Mm. Gu Mingming blushed and looked around. There were too many people around and Gu Mingming really could not bring herself to kiss him. Snake saw her hesitation and so pinched her little chin and pecked her on the mouth, saying, "You should fight for your own benefits." Gu Mingming was dazzled by Snake's smile. How could there be such a good-looking person in this world? He was so exquisite that he seemed like a character that only existed in cartoons. And he was her boyfriend. Because of Snake, Gu Mingming had even forgotten to check her own results. The preparatory bell had already rung and Snake pulled Gu Mingming's hand into the classroom. The morning breeze carried the scent of books around them. As Snakel was too dazzling, Gu Mingming could not see anything else apart from him. She just let herself be led by him into the classroom in a daze and sat at the back near the corner. She spent the entire lesson in a daze, with waves of numbness coming from her palms. Until the end of the lesson, someone stood at the door and shouted, "Gu Mingming, there's a guy at the school entrance looking for you." "Looking for me?" Gu Mingming was quite surprised. Who would come to school to look for her? But Snake was focused on another important point. Male? Gu Mingming shook her head, indicating that she did not know either. Snake hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders and said, "Since you don't know, you don't have to bother about it." Gu Mingming felt that it was not a good idea, but when she said that she wanted to go take a look, Snake's face was so cold that ice could form, so she could only give up. But halfway through the second lesson, the faculty head suddenly knocked on the door and waved at Gu Mingming, saying, "Gu Mingming, come out for a while." Chapter 1292. At the end of the school corridor there was a man standing by the window. His back was hunched and he looked a little down and out. Gu Mingming was stunned for a long time. She did not go near or leave. She just stood there as if the whole world had stopped. The blood in her body froze and her hands were frighteningly cold. Snake frowned and looked at Gu Mingming, asking, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Gu Mingming's teeth could not stop chattering and her pupils were shaking violently. She bit her lower lip tightly and could not say a word. She just stared straight at the man in front of her. The master of the school left after exchanging a few words with the man. The man walked to Gu Mingming and glanced at Snake, who was holding hands with Gu Mingming. He smiled and said, "Mingming, aren't you going to introduce him to your father?" "There's no need." Gu Mingming's voice was trembling. She could not tell if it was from fear or hatred. "Nonsense." The man put on a stern face and said with the air of a father, "I am your father. Shouldn't you inform me that you have a boyfriend?" "Father?" When she was 3 years old, she divorced her mother because the woman she had an affair with got pregnant. In order to monopolize the property, he fought for custody and forced her mother to leave the family with nothing. Her mother chose to give in so that she could receive better care. In the end, the third party gave birth to a daughter the next year. This man who called himself father started to beat and kick Gu Mingming, saying that she was unlucky and caused the son in the third party's womb to become a daughter. Then the third party sent Gu Mingming's mother a photo of Gu Mingming being beaten till she was on the brink of death. He threatened that if she did not bring this burden away, the child who ran around randomly might get into a car accident again. Her mother's heart ached for Gu Mingming and she brought her away without a care in the world. Since then, this man whom she had never seen again was now using the air of a father to ask her why she did not tell him that she had a boyfriend. Gu Mingming did not want to talk to him, not even a single word. She turned to leave but the man growled behind her, "Is this the lesson that your incompetent mother taught you? Not answering your elders' questions and leaving just like that?" Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and did not say a word. Her mind was blank and she could not think of anything. She just wanted to stay further away from this man. Snake frowned. He did not like people treating Gu Mingming with such an attitude. In Gu Mingming's memory, this man called Daddy had never appeared from the age of 4 until she transmigrated to the beast world, so Snake did not take him seriously. After all, although he had hurt Gu Mingming from a certain point of view, this man had an indelible contribution for Gu Mingming to appear in front of him. But now, from the looks of it, ever since Snake snatched Gu Mingming's love letter, the trajectory of her life had started to deviate. She would no longer transmigrate to the beast world to meet Elvis and Leah, but she would have to face the many malicious intents that this world had placed on her. Gu Mingming pulled Snake into the female washroom. Just as she was about to close the door, she realized that Snake was also there. Without saying a word, she just pushed Snake away a little before locking the toilet door from the inside. She curled up on the toilet bowl and hugged her knees as she cried her heart out. Chapter 1293. That man had not left yet. Seeing Gu Mingming running away, he even chased her to the entrance of the female toilet. He had been so aggressive as if he wanted to rush in and beat Gu Mingming up, but was blocked by Snake at the entrance. Without saying a word, Snake grabbed him by the neck. The hand that could hold a basketball with one hand grabbed the man's swollen neck and lifted upwards. The man's back rubbed against the wall and his feet gradually left the ground. "My woman is crying, looks like it's all your fault." A pair of dark green eyes shone with a cold light, exuding a sinister aura that did not match his age. The corners of his lips were clearly curled upwards, but it was like the lines of the Grim Reaper's scythe, exuding an arc that could take one's life. "You really have the guts to easily do something that even I don't dare to do." The man did not doubt that the green-eyed man in front of him would really strangle him to death. He struggled with all his might but to no avail. He grabbed onto Snake's wrist tightly to fight for a bit of breathing space and said with his choked throat, "Murder is against the law." But Snake laughed, tilted his head and asked, "She disappeared from the world after she was 4 years old, hiding like a mouse in the gutter to avoid the $500 of child support every month. Suddenly you came knocking on my door. Wasn't it because you found out my identity that you pounced on me like a stray dog that smelled meat?" Snake slowly approached the man and narrowed his eyes. "You know, right? I am the royal family of F country and have the title of a prince. As long as I say that you attacked me and I killed you in self-defense. Ha, do you think the diplomats of your country will instigate a conflict between the two countries because of you, or hand over your mistress and illegitimate child to me for me to slaughter? I'm her father." In the end, the man could only say these 4 words in a staccato manner. Snake snorted coldly and loosened his grip, causing the man to fall onto the ground with a thud. Then he lay there panting heavily and coughing violently. Snake looked down at the man from above and said coldly, "If you are sincerely apologizing and coaxing her to be happy and acknowledge you as her father, I don't mind spending some money to give her a facade of familial harmony. Unfortunately, you're too stupid. You've wasted the title of future father-in-law. Let me tell you, unless she takes the initiative to find you, otherwise, you will continue to hide in the gutter and be your rat. If she shed another tear, I'll let you see what the world looks like after dark. Get lost." The last word was said in a low voice. The man seemed to have been pardoned and scrambled away. Meanwhile, Snake entered the female bathroom and first turned on the tap to wash his hands. Then he knocked on the door of the cubicle Gu Mingming was in and said, "Even if the sky falls, there's still me. If you want to cry, cry in my arms. Let me be alone for a while. Sob sob. I beg you." Gu Mingming tried her best to suppress her sobs. She also felt very useless. They were strangers whom she had only met once in more than 10 years, but she was crying like this after just one meeting and he did not say anything overboard. It seemed like she was making a mountain out of a molehill. But that stranger whom she had not seen for more than 10 years was her father. Chapter 1294. Seeing that Gu Mingming wasn't going to open the door, Snake knew that there was no point in trying to persuade her, so he took 2 steps back, ran up and jumped up. With one hand on the door frame he flipped over and jumped in. Without another word, he hugged Gu Mingming in his arms and said helplessly, "For you, I have done all sorts of embarrassing things. If others see the CEO of Monsieur Company climbing over the walls of the female toilet, tomorrow's headlines will probably be all about me." Gu Mingming's tears turned into laughter at Snake's teasing. Her tears were still on her face but she still laughed out loud. Snake held Gu Mingming's face gently and said while wiping away her tears, "Tiske, you were already ugly but now that you're crying you're even uglier." Gu Mingming was stunned. She immediately covered her face with both hands and said, "That's why I told you not to come in? Let me be alone for a while?" Which girl didn't want to maintain their best image in front of the person they liked? Especially when the other party was someone as perfect as Snake. Even if she tried her best, she would not be able to match up to him. Now that she was crying so badly, she was even more unworthy of him. Gu Mingming was actually very bothered by Snake's disdain. But Snake grabbed her hands and placed them on the back of his waist. Then he went downstairs and pulled Gu Mingming into his arms. He supported the back of her head with one hand and pressed it against his chest. He smiled and said, "Let you be alone? That won't do. If you can't even lean against my chest when you cry, then what's the point of having me as your boyfriend? But ugly, you'll despise me. No matter how ugly you are, you're still my woman." Snake kissed the top of Gu Mingming's head and said, "So, I will despise you while loving you more." Gu Mingming's heart melted. She hugged Snake in his arms and slowly calmed her emotions. The bell signaling the end of class rang and the female students walked in groups of 2s and 3s. Snake wanted to go out but was stopped by Gu Mingming. If she were to walk out of the ladies' toilet with Snake in such a situation, who knew what kind of indecent rumors would spread about them? Did you see Gu Mingming's results? She's ranked 429th. There are only 450 people in the entire cohort, and she's actually ranked 429th? A girl's tone was full of ridicule. Gu Mingming blushed. In the morning, she had been staring at Snake's name in a daze and did not notice her own results. That's right. She wondered what Snake saw in her. He doesn't look outstanding, doesn't speak well, doesn't have a family background, and even his studies are a mess. What kind of results are those? Even if you made a mistake and chose C, you shouldn't have gotten this result, right? Maybe he's a top student? Otherwise, how could he perfectly avoid all the correct answers? I was pretending to be dumb on purpose so that I could get closer to Snake. Senior, I don't know how to answer this question, can you please teach me? The girls purposely pinched their throats and used an artificial voice to imagine Gu Mingming and Snake's conversation, before bursting into laughter outside. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and did not say a word. Snake, on the other hand, could not take it anymore. He directly pushed open the door and walked out. He stared coldly at the gaping girls and said, "What does my Tumming's results have to do with you?" In an instant, the female toilet seemed to have frozen over. Everyone froze and even stopped breathing in shock. Chapter 1295. The white mist gradually gathered. The beast deity sighed and said, "It's all right. I am your real father." Gu Mingming now understood why the beast deity treated Elvis that way from the start. She also understood why he kept emphasizing that he would back her up. It was because he was afraid that she would break down when she saw the scene of her father knocking on her door in that world. Did he feel wronged? Actually, there was still a little. So when that Gu Mingming was crying in the toilet, this Gu Mingming was also crying in Elvis's arms. Perhaps she still had some expectations for kinship. Yes. Gu Mingming did not want more people to worry for her, so she forced a smile and calmed herself down. After taking a few deep breaths, Gu Mingming felt that she had adjusted her state of mind. Then she smiled at the beast deity. "Father, I finished watching the television series. Where's my pocket money?" The beast deity stroked Gu Mingming's hair dotingly and indulgently. "Say it, what do you want to ask?" Gu Mingming chuckled and pointed at the red spider lily on Elvis's chest, saying, "After I returned from the Mecca desert, I seem to have forgotten something. I clearly obtained the heart of the desert, and I'm very sure that I obtained it non-violently, but I just can't remember." The beast deity smiled and said, "The person you have forgotten is someone who does not belong to the beast world. It's useless to remember. As long as the result is good, it's fine." Gu Mingming understood that no one would be able to get the beast deity to reveal anything he did not want to, so she did not persist and only said, "Then father, do you know who the great lord, that Gregory mentioned is?" The beast deity nodded and replied, "It was one of Wang Xiaoxin's partners. He guarded a path for her to return home for 1,000 years after her death. His identity was special. He was born heartless, so although they were partners, Wang Xiaoxin did not have his mark on her. As a result, many people thought that he was a male that was abandoned by Wang Xiaoxin, but that was not the case. He was a natural stray beast, a transcendent existence in the beast world. How should I put it? Oh, that's right. Let me quote a line from a movie I watched 2 days ago. It's if he becomes Buddha, there will be no demons in the world. If he becomes a demon, there will be nothing Buddha can do. So powerful? The great sage, heaven's equal? Gu Mingming instinctively replied. The beast god nodded and chuckled. You can say that. Because I don't have a heart, I don't have any concept of good and evil, right and wrong. Everything I do is based on my whims. In his entire life he only liked Wang Xiaoxin. Oh, then the engagement between the vulture tribe and him? The beast deity chuckled as he glanced at Elvis. Then he retracted his gaze and said, Wang Xiaoxin from 1,000 years ago, I guess that you would be the successor as the messenger of the beast deity 1,000 years later. I also guessed that you would go to the Mecca desert to retrieve the heart of the desert. But I didn't expect that you wouldn't use the heart of the desert on yourself, but Gu Mingming facepalmed and said, so Wang Xiaoxin wanted to arrange my marriage 1,000 years ago and introduce a bird man to be my husband, right? Chapter 1296. So that's the case. No wonder Gregory behaved like a foolishly loyal general when he mentioned that great lord. So he is indebted to him. As Gu Mingming spoke, she looked up at the beast deity and said, but what do we do now? Gregory refused to bring me up the Moda Mountains. Dad, do you have something like an anywhere door? Can you send me straight to the top of the mountain? The beast deity smiled helplessly. I'm the beast deity, not Doryman. Gu Mingming hung her head and said, but Gregory said that Moda mountains are extremely difficult to climb. Father, why don't you watch over me when I climb and catch me if I fall off? Gu Mingming lowered her head. The beast deity was speechless. He looked at Gu Mingming and shook his head with a bitter smile. Child, why can't you understand? Ah. Gu Mingming was confused by his evaluation. The beast deity asked, Kiss of the ocean, what did you get? Pro. Anything else? The beast god asked patiently. Gu Mingming thought for a while and her eyes lit up. Snake venom. The beast deity nodded and asked, Soul of the forest, what did you obtain? Snake blood. The beast deity gave a mysterious smile and glanced at Elvis. Then, the heart of the desert, whose heart is it? Gu Mingming was taken aback. Oh, wolves. The beast deity nodded approvingly. You are worth teaching. Gu Mingming seemed to have thought of something, but she did not really understand it. It felt like she just could not grasp the main point. The beast deity rubbed Gu Mingming's little head and said, It's all right, don't worry too much. You will naturally understand when you gather all 7 treasures. What do you mean? Gu Mingming was confused. The beast deity was silent for a moment before he said, I think that fellow Gregory is actually not bad. If you like him, you might as well accept him. If she didn't have any feelings for him, as long as she didn't hate him, she could stay and interact with him. But if you really don't like it, then forget about the engagement from 1,000 years ago. There will always be a way out. Even if there is no way out, you still have your father, right? Gu Mingming thought about it and agreed. She did not harp on the matter of Moda Mountains anymore and continued to ask, Dad, actually, there's something else I want to ask. The beast deity did not seem surprised. He just looked at Gu Mingming calmly, waiting for her to speak. Gu Mingming said, Ever since I returned from the Mecca Desert, the stray beasts seem to be very afraid of me. Even little shit, even Wabi started to hide from me and tremble when they see me. The beast deity chuckled. What do you think will happen to the wolf beasts if you kill Elvis? Gu Mingming's face was filled with shock. What kind of example is that? I won't murder my husband. The beast deity smiled and shook his head. All right, let's put it another way. If another powerful beast king killed Elvis, what do you think the wolf beasts would do? Gu Mingming blurted out, Revenge. The beast deity shook his head and said, No, they will retreat and flee upon hearing the news. Gu Mingming froze. So father, you mean that I killed the leader of the stray beast? I killed Cole in the Mecca Desert? The beast deity laughed contemptuously. How is Cole the leader of the stray beast? It was just a flea. You killed an extremely important person. Gu Mingming's face fell. She felt an inexplicable fear towards something that she had no memory of. Chapter 1297. Gu Mingming felt that the beast deity's words did not comfort her at all. Strictly speaking, there were 3 people who had died in her hands in the beast world. The first was Nina. She had ordered him to be killed and she did not regret it. The second was Snake. She did not kill him, but he had died for her. After that, she gained 1,000 years of memories for no reason. This memory tormented her until she was mentally and physically exhausted. The third was, who was it? He had died in her hands. From what the beast deity said, she had done it herself. But she had no recollection of it at all. It was the complete opposite of what happened to Snake. Who the hell would do good every day be killing people? The beast deity patted Gu Mingming's shoulder. Living a little longer may be a blessing. But living for too long is a form of punishment. It was the same for Snake. It is the same for that person. You ended their lives. To them, it is a form of release. If one day you recall what happened then, you will know that I will not lie to you. Gu Mingming knew that there was no point in being distressed. She could only sigh in resignation. Father, what should we do now? Wabi is always afraid of me. The beast deity squatted down and looked into Gu Mingming's eyes. Very simple. Give him a drop of your blood and he will not be afraid of you. Gu Mingming looked at the beast deity doubtfully. Just like that. The beast deity nodded. Yeah, just like that. Don't you know? Deities cannot lie. Gu Mingming nodded with a smile. All right, father. I will go back first. I took too long this time. I am afraid Leah will be worried. The beast deity kissed Gu Mingming's forehead with a smile. Be good and go back. I will watch some good television dramas during this period of time. I will learn how to deal with my son-in-law. With that, the beast deity turned to smile at Elvis. You are welcome to accompany Gu Mingming back to her home again. Then it was a free fall. Gu Mingming was already used to this feeling of falling. But Elvis was clearly very nervous. He hugged Gu Mingming tightly the entire time, as if he was afraid that Gu Mingming would be blown away by the wind. Opening his eyes suddenly, he saw that Gu Mingming was still in his arms and his heart slowly calmed down. Gu Mingming was already used to switching back and forth, so she was not in a hurry to get up. She first opened her eyes to adjust to the light before slowly sitting up. Leah had already prepared a cup of water and placed it in front of Gu Mingming. He watched her drink while saying to Elvis, "Let me carry you, you should also drink some water to moisten your throat." Elvis's throat was extremely dry, so he did not reject and handed Gu Mingming over to Leah, while he went to the side of the water tank to scoop up some water and gulped it down. "Where's Wabi-I?" The first thing Gu Mingming asked was little shit. She wanted to quickly resolve the matter of little shit being afraid of her. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, "It's hanging on the tree outside the house. He doesn't dare to come in and is worried about me taking care of the two of you alone, so he has been guarding the door." Gu Mingming said, "Ask him to come in, I have a way to solve the problem of him being afraid of me." Leah chuckled and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Mingming Mingming, what happened to you?" Chapter 1298. Gu Mingming ignored the fight between Wabi-I and Leah. She quickly bit her finger and poked it into Wabi-I's mouth. Wabi-I jumped in fright and turned to look at Gu Mingming in shock. He had no idea what was going on. But when a faint sweetness spread through his mouth, Wabi-I's eyes widened and his body stiffened. He took a step back and pointed at Gu Mingming. You. I didn't bite you." Gu Mingming looked at him retreating to the corner of the wall, looking like a servant girl who had been forced by her husband. She couldn't help but laugh. "Hey little shit. Come here." "I won't." Wabi-I crossed his arms and glared at Gu Mingming. He had never imagined that he would taste Gu Mingming's blood one day. How was he going to explain this to Snake? He had promised to protect her, but now there was her blood in his mouth. There was no way he could explain this. Gu Mingming patiently said gently, "Try to come closer to me. Come on." Wabi-I shook his head and resisted with all his might. Gu Mingming's face darkened. "You seem to have forgotten that I am the Snake King." Yes. Ever since the mark on the back of Gu Mingming's neck changed from Snake's personal protection mark to the family's protection mark, Gu Mingming was the new Snake King. But she had ordered the Snake clan to continue living in the Snake King Valley and didn't have to serve her. So she wasn't surrounded by huskies like Elvis. Wabi-I was taken aback. He said reluctantly, "Tiske, you even learned how to bully the snake." Gu Mingming couldn't keep up her gentle facade. She arched one leg and rested her arm on her knee. She crooked her finger. "Since you know I am bullying the snake, hurry over. Why must I use my status as the Beast King to suppress you? Tiske, hurry up." Wabi-I dawdled over to Gu Mingming with a look of disdain. "I have to come over just because you asked me to. Do I not want my face? Just you wait, when I break through the Beast King bloodline I will kill you." Gu Mingming stood up from the bed and jumped high to hook her arms around Wabi-I's neck. "You dare to talk back to me like this? Looks like you are really not afraid of me, right?" Wabi-I was also taken aback by Gu Mingming's words. He turned around abruptly to look at her, his hands clutching her shoulders in a death grip from the agitation. The corners of his mouth widened until his 2 rows of pearly white teeth were all exposed to the guests. "Gu Mingming, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you." Gu Mingming was about to fall apart from Wabi-I's shaking. She felt so dizzy and nauseous. "Sigh. It hurts." Gu Mingming raised her hand and slapped Wabi-I's head. Wabi-I was sent flying into the corner of the wall. Gu Mingming rubbed her shoulder, which had turned red from Wabi-I's grip, as she slowly walked over. She squatted beside Wabi-I and smiled from the bottom of her heart. She reached out a hand in front of Wabi-I. "Welcome back." Wabi-I reached out to hold Gu Mingming's little hand. He didn't stand up, but just pulled her into his arms with all his might. He couldn't calm his emotions as his throat tightened and his entire body trembled uncontrollably. Chapter 1299. Gu Mingming allowed Wabi-I to hug her with all his might, like a willful child hugging a toy he had lost and found. There was no hint of intimacy between a man and a woman, just the fear of losing a friend or even a relative. "Little shit, thank you for being afraid of losing me and thank you for coming back. But my waist is about to break, can't you be a little gentler?" Not only did Wabi-I not loosen his grip, he hugged her even more tightly. He laughed out loud. "Gentle my ass. I will be the Snake King if I strangle you to death." Scram. Gu Mingming raised her hand to give Wabi-I another slap, causing him to fall to the ground. Wabi-I sprawled on the ground, twitching, not even lifting his face. Gu Mingming felt a little guilty. "Are you serious?" Did you become epileptic from being beaten? Wabiai shook his head but didn't say a word. Gu Mingming squatted there in confusion. She poked Wabiai with a finger and asked worriedly, "Did I hit you too hard? Are you alright?" "Scram, don't bother me. Let me lie here for a while." Gu Mingming was taken aback. Damn, why did he sound like he was crying? She grabbed Wabiai's hair and lifted his head up. Gu Mingming looked at Wabiai in shock. "I little shit, you are actually crying." "I am not crying. Don't you slander me." Since he had already been seen, Wabiai didn't bother burying his face anymore. He pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms. "I thought I would never be able to fight with you again in this lifetime." Gu Mingming's heart warmed. She hugged Wabiai back and gently patted his back. If he continued to be so afraid of her and hide far away from her, he would never be able to fight with her again. There was a relationship that was forged through fighting. The more they fought, the better the relationship would be. This relationship was called Wabiai and Gu Mingming. Wabiai started feeling awkward after he calmed down. He had lived for 800 years and was second only to Snake in the beast world in terms of being feared by others. But he was actually beaten to tears by a little female. Although Gu Mingming's family of 3 did not mention this matter, the way Leah and Elvis looked at him was really enough. Wabiai raised half his body and rushed towards Elvis. "Little wolf, I heard that you have become a beast king. Come and fight with me to loosen up my muscles." Elvis waved his hand. The wild wolves that were baring their teeth and about to pounce on Wabiai suppressed the low growls coming from their throats and maintained a posture that was ready to leap and attack at any moment. They took 2 steps back, but their eyes were still fixed on Wabiai, guarding against his every move. Elvis carried Gu Mingming and said, "I can't fight with you now." "What?" Wabiai was displeased. Elvis tidied the stray hair on Gu Mingming's forehead and said, "If I accidentally kill you, Xiaoming will be upset." "I won't do anything that will upset Xiaoming." Wabiai narrowed his eyes and flashed his poisonous fangs. Was he being looked down upon by this little wolf? Right. He swung his snake tail at Elvis without using any strength. Elvis leaped backwards easily and did not get angry. He just said softly, "Those wooden barrels over there are filled with Xiaoming's grape wine. Xiaoming will definitely be angry if you ruin it." Wabiai's tail forcefully stopped a step away from the barrel. He turned around and sneered. "Fight with me or I will ruin this broken barrel." Chapter 1300. Wabiai gritted his teeth. "Little wolf pup, you have been corrupted." This couple was actually using the same trick to threaten him. Damn it. They were both beast kings and were more powerful than him. He was the one being bullied all the time. She sighed. The truth was nothing in Snake's eyes. As long as Gu Mingming opened her mouth, even if she said fishes were flying in the sky and birds were swimming in the water, Snake would never hesitate to believe her. Elvis smiled. "Thank you for your compliment." While Gu Mingming was settling Wabiai's matter, Leah had already prepared a pot of food. He called Gu Mingming and Elvis out to eat. Besides Gu Mingming's family of 3, there was also Wabiai, Ian, Gregory and the unshakable Oriton. Because of Gregory's presence, no one mentioned anything about the news Gu Mingming had received from the beast deity. After all, Gregory was not one of them. Although he liked Gu Mingming, he was not someone who could share information with Wabiai, Ian and Oriton. Gu Mingming asked as she ate, "How long did I sleep this time?" Lee's gaze drifted to Gregory. 5 days. 5 days, Gu Mingming nodded. "Gregory, so you are leaving today?" Gregory's chest tightened. He nodded with much difficulty. Actually, there was a moment when he almost blurted out that his injuries had not healed and he wanted to stay for 2 more days to recuperate. But the males of the vulture tribe had an inextinguishable pride in their bones. Although Gu Mingming had pushed him a little too hard that day, he had recovered after recuperating for 3 days. He was unwilling to show weakness in front of Gu Mingming, and even more unwilling to lie to her. "So, have you thought of a reason to convince me to bring you up the mountain?" Gregory's gaze deepened. His seemingly calm eyes hid a surging anticipation. Gu Mingming shook her head. Her gaze landed on Elvis's chest. She smiled. "The marriage agreement between the vulture tribe and that great lord seems to be impossible to fulfill. I've met with that lord and he asked me to tell you that the engagement is over. From today onwards, the leader of your vulture tribe is free to marry. You don't have to guard that engagement to the death and be lonely for the rest of your lives." Gregory's face carried a tinge of disappointment and desolation. To the vulture tribe, that engagement was a promise, but also a shackle. Now that it had been undone, he did not feel as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Could he pursue Gu Mingming now that he was no longer engaged? But Why didn't he feel the slightest bit of joy? I understand now. The difficulties between him and her had never been because of that engagement. He was about to leave and she didn't even try to stop him. He was prepared. No matter how ridiculous her excuse was, as long as she revealed even the slightest desire for him to stay or for him to take her away, he would agree. However, she actually shook her head so calmly and even gave him a release, allowing him to marry freely. You don't want the love of the sky? Gregory asked softly. Gu Mingming smiled and said, yes, of course. Without that thing my man won't let me bear children. Gregory felt as if his heart had been sliced by a small knife. So she had put in so much effort to find the love of the sky just so she could bear children for her partner. Chapter 1301. Gregory felt that he should turn around and fly back to the Moda Mountains in a carefree manner, leaving Gu Mingming with a proud and aloof back view and an aloof image. As long as he left, she would never be able to ascend the Moda Mountains and obtain the love of the sky. She would also not be able to bear the children of those two males. It was a childish idea, but Grace just couldn't suppress the sour taste that kept bubbling up in her heart. But thinking was just thinking. He could not spread his wings. He clearly wanted to say, then I will leave, but when he opened his mouth he said, then how do you intend to ascend the mountain? Gu Mingming held her cheek and thought for a while. Then she shook her head and said, I have not thought about it yet. Things will eventually sort themselves out. There is really no other way. I will summon the beasts in the beast world to accompany me to be a foolish old man and dig out the mountain. Gregory's gaze froze and he asked softly with a frown, You are serious? Gu Mingming chuckled and said, Of course not serious. She took the rice from Elvis and swallowed it after chewing a few times. Then she said, I know what the Moda Mountains mean to the birds' tribe. How can I destroy the mountain for my own selfish desires? I was just saying it casually, don't take it seriously. Gregory's gaze dimmed for a moment. Actually, he wanted to say that if Gu Mingming was serious, then he would have a reason to give in. For the sake of the birds' tribe, he could lower his head and say, I will bring you up the mountain, don't destroy the Moda Mountains. With such a dignified reason, would he be able to cover up his dirty and selfish thoughts and stay by her side for a few more days? Gregory laughed bitterly in his heart. He did not expect that he would become so despicable in just a month's time. Then, I'll be going. Saying goodbye, Gregory sat on the same spot without moving an inch. Gu Mingming said, Wait a moment. Gregory's eyes brightened instantly and he could not hide his anticipation when he looked at Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming turned around and returned to the stone castle. She took out a beautiful feather fan and handed it to Gregory. She said, I promised you that I will give you the first fan. Treat it as a parting gift. I wish you a pleasant journey. Gregory's fingertips felt slightly cold. He took the fan from Gu Mingming and his eyes that had just lit up dimmed again. He nodded and said, Thank you. In the end she did not ask him to stay. Even though he knew that she needed him to go to Moda Mountains, she still let him go without hesitation. He had emphasized time and again that only the tribe leader of the vulture race would descend the mountain after receiving the Lord's notice. Now that the Lord was no longer around, he would be the last person to descend the mountain. He was her only hope to ascend the mountain. Chapter 1302. That birdman is clearly interested in you. Why don't you take him in? Wabi sprawled lazily on the table. He picked up a small rock and threw it at Gu Mingming's head. Gu Mingming clutched her head and glared at Wabi. Are you courting death? How dare you throw a rock at me? Wabi grinned and nodded. Yes, I dare to throw a rock at you. Gu Mingming held her forehead. Wabi had yet to recover from the fact that he was no longer afraid of her. Provoking her had become his only method of getting close to her. The word dare had him bewitched. She rolled her eyes at Wabi and didn't harp on the little rock. Anyway, it wasn't really that painful, so Gu Mingming didn't mind. I know he likes me, so I can't make use of his feelings. Since I can't reciprocate, I can't let others misunderstand from the start. Gu Mingming glared at Leah and said, In the past I thought he would never like me, so I dared to let him wander around me. Who knew he would suddenly change his personality? Leah shook his head and said, Wabi picked up another small rock from the ground and was about to throw it at Gu Mingming when she glared at him. This is too big. My head will break if you throw it at me. Wabi threw the pebble-sized rock aside resentfully. He twitched his lips. Beast King? So weak. Gu Mingming rolled her eyes at Wabi and ignored his provocation. She repeated what the beast deity had said to her in her dreams for everyone to hear. Wabi frowned at Elvis and then at Leah. Tiske, you should have taken in that Birdman just now. You should have taken in a few more powerful males too. Gu Mingming looked at Wabiai with a "why are you courting death" expression. You changed your profession to being a pimp? Wabiai scoffed. You are the pimp. You pimped the entire tribe. Gu Mingming gave Wabiai a look, indicating for him to look at Elvis's expression. Wabiai glanced at Elvis. I have been by Snake's side for 800 years. Do you think I will be afraid of a mere newly crowned wolf king? There's nothing wrong with that. Wabiai was a snake and Snake was the Snake King, so to Wabiai not only did Snake suppress him in terms of combat power, he was also the undefeatable and absolute king in terms of species. Wabiai, who had not cowered even after being beaten up by Snake for 800 years, would definitely not be frightened by Elvis. Gu Mingming facepalmed and said, "Little shit, don't disturb the harmony of my family, alright?" Wabiai said, "It's not that I want to criticize you, but are you using all your ruthlessness on me? Why are you acting so cowardly when you see two useless people from your family?" Gu Mingming slammed the table and roared, "Just say what you want to say, don't attack me personally." Wabiai said, "Trash will always be trash. Why can't I say that?" Seeing that Gu Mingming was about to lose her temper, Wabiai gestured for her to stop and continued, "According to the beast deity, you killed a strong stray beast in the Mecca desert." Chapter 1303. With that, Elvis and Leah became even more depressed. Yeah, both of them were around, so why did Gu Mingming have to kill someone? So King aggrieved. Wabiai continued. That's why partners must have quality and quantity. Although Little Wolf is a beast king now, he is not a three-headed, six-armed man. There will always be times when he cannot take care of you. To ensure that you can be taken care of better, you should find a few more partners. That way you won't have to do it yourself the next time you want to kill someone. Gu Mingming was about to suffocate from Wabiai's anger. She scrunched her nose. I'm not a homicidal maniac. Why would I kill so many people? Wabiai chuckled. It would be good if you were a homicidal maniac. At least you wouldn't look so unsettled just because you killed someone. It makes me angry. Gu Mingming was taken aback. She then understood that Wabiai was saying those words because he was worried that she had killed someone during her amnesia. She smiled knowingly and nudged Wabiai's shoulder. Actually, I don't have to find more partners to solve this problem. Don't I still have you? Wabiai was soothed by Gu Mingming's words. His heart, liver, spleen, lungs and kidneys were all warmed up. He said with a smug expression, "All right, seeing how pitiful you are and how your two partners are useless, tell me the next time you want to kill someone. Even if I have to turn the beast world upside down, I will kill him for you." Gu Mingming smiled and elbowed Wabiai. "Aya, my little shit is so reliable." Yes, Wabiai had completely accepted being called little shit. Hearing Gu Mingming call him that, he didn't feel anything and even felt like laughing. Gu Mingming and Wabiai's banter eased the tension at the table. But Li's expression remained grim. He scanned everyone at the table. No one is allowed to leak the fact that Mingming's blood can dispel the stray beast's fear of her. With that, Li's gaze landed on Ian's face. You can't tell this even to your partner. Then Leah glanced at Oriton and said, "Whoever dares to leak a word about this will be put on my blacklist of clients that I will never contact again." Never to meet again was equivalent to saying goodbye to Li's culinary skills forever. Oriton's body trembled and he said solemnly, "Don't worry, I won't say such things even in my dreams." Ian looked back at Leah with a sickly expression and said, "It's useless even if you tell your partner. Mandy is just a brainless fan of Gu Mingming." In Mandy's eyes, Gu Mingming is a naive, innocent and kind little fairy who had descended to the mortal world to undergo a calamity. Even the hair she lost was because she was worried about saving the world, and her farts were fragrant and clean. If I dared to say anything bad about Gu Mingming to her face, in her eyes, I would immediately become a vicious villain who obstructed Gu Mingming from achieving immortality and returning to the heavenly court. Leah chuckled. This little female Mandy has good taste." Ian was speechless. He sighed and looked at Gu Mingming. "I heard that there was a cripple among the stray beasts that came to deliver grapes to you. If I'm not wrong, it should be Cole. It's a pity he didn't dare to enter Solder. It seems like he was scared off by you. Gu Mingming, you are becoming more and more powerful. You can even scare perverts away. Remember to tell Mandy that I praised you today." Digression, the author's words. Chapter 1304. At the mention of Cole, Li's gaze darkened. As long as Cole knows that Wabiai is not afraid of Mingming, he will understand that there is a way to overcome this fear. If he cannot get close to Meng Meng, he will definitely turn his attention to Wabi. Wabi lifted his eyelids nonchalantly. Come on, let's see if that broken body of his is enough for me to eat. Xianxuan's life is still in his hands. He has nothing to fear. Leah shook his head gently and denied Wabi's words. He just narrowed his long eyes and smiled coldly. Since he wants a solution, let's give him one. Wabi nodded. Let's give him one. Wabi scared. You have so many wolf cubs. What's the big deal if one or two die? Just because of Qixin, how long are you going to be threatened by coal? Gu Mingming smacked Wabi's head. Don't joke about such things. Fall out. Wabi flexed his neck, which had been misplaced by Gu Mingming's smack. That's right. Look at the beast world. Which family can give birth to a litter of children and all of them live to adulthood? That snake beast can lay over 10 to 20 eggs in a litter, but only 3 to 5 of them will survive to adulthood. Moreover, Qixin is just a male cub, not a female. I don't know why you treasure him so much. TSK, you are the weird one. That is my flesh. His heart, liver, spleen, lungs and kidneys were all given by me. Why shouldn't I treasure him? I'm warning you, if you continue to say such things, we can't be friends anymore. Seeing that Gu Mingming was really about to get angry, Wabi scared and didn't continue speaking. Snakes were naturally cold-blooded and Wabi really couldn't understand familial love. He had lived for 800 years and the only two people he cared about were Elvis and Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming nudged Wabi. When you find a female and give birth to a litter of snakes in the future, you will understand how I feel now. Wabi rolled his eyes. If giving birth to a child will turn me into you, then I won't. When that time comes, I will be bullied by others. Just the thought of it pisses me off. Gu Mingming did not insist and just looked at Leah, asking, what kind of solution do you intend to give Cole? Leah chuckled. Stray beasts are afraid of you, as long as you get rid of your stray beast status, isn't it? Gu Mingming was confused. What do you mean? Leah glanced at Wabi. As long as you say that you helped Wabi remove his stray beast status and allowed him to mate with a female again, won't the problem be solved? Will it work? Wabi is so cunning, would he believe him? Gu Mingming was skeptical. Leah chuckled. With Peter's success story right there, he will believe it. Gu Mingming looked at Wabi. Then where are we going to find a female to act with us? Leah shook his head and said, as long as it's an act, there will definitely be flaws, so, are you serious? You want Wabi, this old bachelor of 800 years, to fall in love with a female, and then get rid of his stray beast status like Peter? Gu Mingming's eyes widened. She really felt that the probability of this happening was even lower than the probability of a comet hitting the Earth. Chapter 1305. Leah looked at Gu Mingming's confused expression and found it extremely adorable. Hence, he cupped her little face and kissed it over and over again before continuing. To be able to move the heart of an old bachelor like Wabi, it must be a unique female. Logically speaking, the best candidate should be you because there is no one more beautiful than you in this world. It is natural for any male to fall in love with you. However, I don't want you to be the scapegoat, so I can only settle for the next best thing and choose a very special and unverifiable female. Oh. Gu Mingming was confused. Leah chuckled. Wang Xiaoxing. What the heck? Gu Mingming almost burst out laughing. Do you mean I should let Wabi and Wang Xiaoxing have a ghost marriage? Leah shrugged his shoulders and chuckled. The messenger of the beast deity returned to the embrace of the beast deity after completing her mission, while you can travel between the beast world and the beast deity's world. So in theory, you and Wang Xiaoxing should be able to meet each other in the beast deity's world. You always mention Wabi in front of the beast deity, so it is reasonable for Wang Xiaoxing to be interested in him. Gu Mingming facepalmed. So I am a pimp. Leah chuckled. How can you say that you're pimping your friend out of kindness when you're trying to introduce him to a good man when he's all alone? Gu Mingming looked at Leah and gave him a thumbs up. I always thought I was good at bluffing, but you are even better than me. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's little face and said, that's why if we're not a family we won't enter the same house. Gu Mingming thought about it and shook her head. But Wang Xiaoxing is Snake's mother. Isn't the seniority a little too messy? Leah smiled slyly and said softly, just because she is Snake's mother beast, this matter fits Cole's perverted logic. Gu Mingming tilted her head and looked at Leah, confused. Leah continued to explain, Snake had already disappeared from the beast world. Wabi had been suppressed by him for 800 years and had never won. After that, he no longer had the chance to turn the tables. But now, as long as he follows Wang Xiaoxing, he will be able to suppress Snake in terms of seniority. Cole will definitely like this feeling. Gu Mingming chuckled. She recalled what Bai Lan had said before. She had said that the husband she found in the future must be surnamed Wang and give birth to a son named Wang Yang. Her first love was called Wang Yang, but he cheated on her and broke up with her. She said that she didn't educate Wang Yang well when she was his girlfriend, so she would educate him again as his mother. Gu Mingming couldn't help but find it funny that the joke back then had now become Li's plan. She asked, "Will Cole believe it?" Leah did not answer but asked Wabi instead, if you were given a chance to be Snake's father, would you do it? *CK. Chapter 1306. After settling Cole's matter, their next target was the love of the sky on Mota Mountains. It was not wise to let Gregory go just like that, but Gu Mingming knew that the most unredeemable thing in this world was emotional debt, so she could not make use of other people's feelings for her. Back then she was entangled with Leah because he was in her heart and she could not bear to let him go. But now that she did not have Gregory in her heart, she naturally could not let others mislead her. But if she let Gregory go, how were they going to ascend the mountains now? Let's go to Mota Mountains during the rainy season next year. Elvis hugged and kissed Gu Mingming. Because of Gregory's matter, we have already wasted a month's time. If we don't stock up on food, we will not have a good winter. Don't you still want to visit Xianxia and Canwell? Let's go to Zacharias this winter, alright? Gu Mingming thought about it, then shook her head and said, in the first year after you became the Wolf King, all the Wolf tribe members have been moving towards Sauter. You must stay here this winter to hold the fort, so that everyone in the Wolf tribe can rest assured. What has it got to do with me whether they are at ease or not? I only care if you are happy. Gu Mingming's eyes were full of smiles. She gently caressed Elvis's chest. Since you have become the king, you have to shoulder the responsibilities that you have to. They are people who will risk their lives to fight for your orders. You should at least give them some peace. Let's go to Mota Mountains after winter next year. We can also go to Zacharias to visit Qishan and Canwu. I believe our sons will not blame us. Elvis did not insist. He just nodded. I will always listen to Xiaoming. Ian had completed his mission and said that he wanted to return to St. Nazir to accompany Mandy. Gu Mingming nodded in agreement. There was no reason for a newlywed couple to be separated just because she wanted a friend to accompany her. Ian took 2 steps forward before turning back. Gu Mingming, can you make me one of the fans you gave Grace? Why? Are you using it to please Mandy? Ian nodded and said, I accidentally broke the cup you gave her earlier. I want to take that back to comfort her. Gu Mingming twitched her lips and said, the feathers Gregory gave me are only enough to make 2. I gave 1 to him and the other is with me. If you want it, catch me 12 Melodis and I will give you the one in my hand. Then, when I am free during winter, I will slowly paste a new one on myself. Gu Mingming's lips twitched. Ian was a little troubled. Can I return you 20 Melody during the dry season next year? That bird's habitat is very far away. With my speed it would take at least 2 days to make a round trip. I'm afraid that I won't be able to catch all 12 of them before winter arrives.